Friends, since the death of Pope Francis and the calling of the Conclave, the film Conclave and its downloads have gone up by 283%. My PhD was in cinema studies, in film. So here are my thoughts on the film Conclave. The first is a spoiler alert. If you haven't seen the film Conclave, I'm about to wreck it for you. What did I like? I loved the sets, the art direction, the costumes, the acting, the music score, and the special effects, especially the bomb going off, which hits the Sistine Chapel. What's especially good about this film for us is the excellent research that Robert Harris did for his book, and which director Edward Berger realizes in this film. It's beautifully made. The scenes of the actual conclave in the Sistine Chapel are spectacular, and they're beautifully, meticulously researched. Here are my problems, though, with the film. While I have no problem believing that cardinals intensively negotiate about the best candidates, in fact, I hope they do that, I found the storyline of the 45 cardinals being paid off by the rich United States cardinal for their votes for him to be a bit beyond the pale, because they take a vow before God where they put their hand on the Gospels precisely not to do the very thing that he has now trying to get them to do. I do not believe that many cardinals could be morally bankrupt. Secondly, while it's true that the Pope can and does appoint men as secret cardinals, in pectore, in the heart in Latin, usually it's because they could be killed if their name was known by the government in the country where they live, for instance. It's not true that the Pope knows only who they are. That's just not right. In pectore just means that their names aren't published when they're created as cardinals. The names are in fact written down at the Vatican, and they're always revealed to the dean and the substituto, the deputy of the Sacred College, the voters who come to eventually vote for the Pope. To avoid this very early crisis in the film, that's the very reason why the Pope does in fact tell at least a couple of other people who the cardinals are in pectore. So that part of the film is actually just not factually correct. Thirdly, most films need a goodie and a baddie, but I have to say the trendy Cardinal Bellini and the arch-conservative Cardinal Tedesco are stereotypes. I just think they're overdrawn for dramatic effect. They perform their function well, but they're just overdrawn. Sister Agnes, Isabella Rossellini, is a much more interesting character. She is our eyes and our ears, shocked at the Cardinal's behaviour. I doubt, however, that a nun would ever dress them down like she does in the dining room, and that they would take it and then act on it. I only wish that women in the Catholic Church had such power and were listened to so carefully as she is in that film. I assume the intersex revelation of Cardinal Diaz is meant to suggest that we now actually have a woman as Pope by stealth, which is a bit of a scientific overreach. Now, I have a friend of mine who's actually an expert in genetics, so I have done a little bit of checking on this part of the story. It's conjectured in the world that intersex people are between 0.2% to 1.7%, and there's a bit of a fight between those two. Most of them, in fact, have an XX or an XY chromosome. And then within this group, there are those who have a mix of chromosomes, such as XXY. In the film, we're told that Cardinal Diaz was raised as a man unaware of his intersex traits until an appendectomy revealed that he in fact had an internal uterus and ovaries. That actually makes him a person known as 46XXDSD. Sorry for being too technical, but it does matter, because it means he'd also have undescended testes. There are other issues for 46XXSD people as well, but for now, he would have had a medical examination to enter the seminary. I did in my day, and I assume they still do, where it has to be confirmed that you have male genitals. He was ordained a priest and ordained a bishop on that basis. So while he may have in fact be intersex, he must have had dominant XY chromosomes. So that storyline is a bit of an ideological fantasy. Diaz is a male with some internal female characteristics. That's no problem for being a priest in the church, and therefore, eventually, to become the Pope. Finally, my major problem with the book and with the film is with the treatment of the Nigerian Cardinal Adeyemi. Cardinal Lawrence cannot get Sister Shansumi to reveal her secret until he suggests she go to him in confession. Now the bells started ringing for me. Sister Agnes has to leave the room. We don't see the confession in the film, but the very next scene is Lawrence confronting Adeyemi about the secret child he's fathered with Sister Shamumi. Lawrence has just broken the seal of confession. Even if Shamumi gave him permission to talk to somebody else, canon law in fact explicitly forbids a confessor from revealing any information about a penitent. This has been contentious in recent times in regard to what happens if I hear the confession of a child abuser, for instance. So, in going to Adeyemi, Lawrence is subject to automatic excommunication, which can only be revoked by the Pope, who's dead. And this cannot be delegated to anybody else. Cardinal Adeyemi would know that. He would know that. And so all he had to do to survive in the papal election is to get up first thing the next morning in the conclave in the Sistine Chapel and reveal to the cardinals what had happened to him the night before. He would be under no obligation to detail what the matter was about, just that it was revealed. And if Lawrence then denied it, an investigation would be quick in this case, because all they would need to do is ask Lawrence how he found out about the undisclosed matter against Adeyemi, and then ask Shamumi if she went to confession to Lawrence. She does not need to disclose what she has said there, just that it happened before he went straight to Adeyemi's bedroom. And Agnes, who seems to know this secret all along, testifies that she heard the offer from Lawrence for the confessional and then had to leave the room for it to occur. It's an open and shut case. Cardinal Lawrence is not only thrown out of the conclave, but the newly minted, excommunicated Mr. Lawrence would be out of the Catholic Church as well. In fact, I wish they'd pursued this. Would have been great drama in the film. So while the film got many, many things right, and the actual actions in the Sistine Chapel are worth another look this week, let's not get caught up on some of the other stuff, because it's pretty clear that the book and the film have really kept to the old adage, never let the facts get in the road of a good story.